A mixed report card from today's final US presidential debate. It was a Joe Biden win, according to many observers, but others say it was President Donald Trump who fared better, with an unusually calm performance. The two men have fought over key issues from COVID-19 and China to immigration. Simon Marks is standing by live in Washington, D.C. to take us through reaction to the showdown. But first, a look at how the clash unfolded, beginning with the pandemic.
220,000 Americans dead.
It's not my fault that he came here. It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's fault that he came here either. It's China's fault. They kept it from going into the rest of China for the most part, but they didn't keep it from coming out to the world.
Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America.
I do want to ask you, Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly.
They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies.
10 seconds, Mr. President.
That's
10
a
seconds.
typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just
right.
A typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk about
I'm not
North
a typical
Korea
politician.
now. Okay,
that's why I got elected. Let's get off the subject of China. Let's talk around sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe.
Mr. President, your administration separated children from their parents at the border. At least 4,000 kids.
Yes, we're working on it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents.
Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up question.
Kristen, they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response to that?
They did it. We changed.
Did not.
They built the cages. Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who built the cages,
Joe? Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy, who's a thug, and he talks about how we're better off. And they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory.
They tried to meet with him.
10 seconds, President.
They tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I got to give him a chance to respond to that before we move on.
And that's okay. You know what? North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good relationship
Trump,
with leaders of other countries is a good thing. Keep talking about all these things you're going to do, and you're going to do this. But you were there just a short time ago, and you guys did nothing.
We did.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run.
You know who I am. You know who he is. You know his character. You know my character. You know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race.
Well, as promised, Simon Marks joins us live now from Washington. So, Simon, what is your verdict? I guess the all-important question is if the candidates managed to sway the voters with their speeches.
Well, that is the only yardstick that matters, of course, in this election now. The debate only had one potential purpose for these candidates, and that is to reach out to the very small number of undecided voters still out there. And bear in mind, 48 million Americans have already cast their ballots. So for them, that 90-minute encounter last night was irrelevant. They can't change their minds. They've already voted the way that they have voted. There's no question that Donald Trump's presentation last night was much calmer, much more focused, much more disciplined, not just than his presentation in debate number one, but frankly more focused and disciplined than anything we've witnessed so far from him on the campaign trail. And his attacks on Joe Biden's character, rooted in that unverified article in the New York Post, for which Joe Biden did not really have a comprehensive reply, except to say that the president and his top aides were spreading Russian misinformation. We don't know if it's Russian misinformation. Equally, no one's been able to verify the claims made in the newspaper article. Those may have caused Joe Biden to lose some support among floating voters who may start questioning his probity. But on the other side of the equation, Joe Biden was the only candidate on that stage last night offering a national plan to deal with the number one problem facing America today, COVID-19 and the economic fallout from the pandemic. pandemic. Donald Trump conceded that he doesn't have a national plan because he thinks everything needs to be mitigated by America's 50 individual states. And as Joe Biden argued that the character of the nation is on the line in this election, on numerous occasions he looked at the camera in last night's debate and said to the American people, I don't see Republican states and Democrat states. I see the United States of America. And Democrats will be hoping that that resonates with some of those floating voters in the middle.
Yeah, a lot of domestic issues and personal issues are brought up during the debate, Simon. But foreign policy is perhaps what we're interested in over here in Asia. What's your take on how both candidates sort of put forward their foreign policy pitches, and what was the reaction to them?
Well, you heard in those clips that we just played a stark difference in approach to foreign policy, with President Trump insisting that the kind of gambit that he's taken, for example, with regard to North Korea, has absolutely paid off. He said, as he said on numerous occasions in the past last night, that the United States was on the brink of war with North Korea, that millions of lives would have been at stake, and that by opening up that conversation with Kim Jung-un, he has very successfully, he says, diverted the country from that path. Joe Biden is offering, as you heard, a return to what Democrats would characterize as realpolitik. What foreign observers here would say is a return to a much more traditional foreign policy stance by the United States. Predictable, with yardsticks. He said, for example, he wouldn't meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un unless the North Koreans indicated very clearly that they were committed to dismantling their nuclear program. He said it was foolish to offer Kim Jong-un the kind of legitimization that the Trump administration has bestowed upon North Korea. The word went out from Joe Biden to China, to Russia, that they will be held accountable, to Iran for election interference that may be underway and for other aspects of policy. The Russians, for example, reportedly having put bounties on the heads of American troops in Afghanistan and Iraq. So Joe Biden was reflecting the kind of continuity in foreign policy that we had seen here all the way up to Donald Trump's administration. President Trump is saying to the American public, my way has worked. It has defused tensions. It has brought American troops back to their families here in the United States. So that's a stark choice for American voters, but also for American adversaries, which may explain why so many foreign nations, the Americans, the Chinese, the Iranians, the Russians, the Chinese and the Iranians, are, according to intelligence agencies, working overtime to try and influence the outcome of this vote.